16% VAT tax on petroleum. What does that really mean? It doesn't just mean when you go and fuel your car. It has this ripple effect. Could you break it down for us?
Okay, the ripple effect is, of course, as the Energy Regulatory Commission already announced, if you go in to fill your pump from the 1st of September, obviously your prices would have gone up. Your price will have gone up immediately. So that's the first thing. It means that in addition to excise duty and the road levy with government extracts, so therefore the amount of money that government gets for every litre of petroleum has gone up substantially as well. Not necessarily by 16%, but it's gone up substantially too. So that in some calculation that we did, a rough calculation, back of the envelope calculation that we did today, close to 60% of the total cost of per litre will be levies and taxes going to government, that amount. Mm-hmm. Then petroleum fuels are used by many Kenyans in many other ways. So some people use it as a primary cooking fuel in kerosene. So obviously the amount of kerosene that Kenyan households, for those who use it, can buy for their lighting, for those who don't have electricity connected yet, or those who use it for cooking, that will also have gone up. But we also know that many industries in Kenya, especially manufacturing, use petroleum fuel for two things. One, for manufacture, for running some machines, but the other one is for transporting goods. So transport for goods, including some foods that are processed, would go up as well, in addition to transport, where the transport industry raised their fares almost immediately as well. So basically, almost from every corner, we are going to see the ripple effect, which is increasing prices for households. And
if we were to use this prices and how inflation, of course, will then go up as an indicator of the overall health of the economy. Yes. I mean, how exactly did we get here? How did we get to the point where, IMF is part of the conversation again? Well, the truth is this is not IMF. And I think your statement before stated that we made a firm commitment, rather that the Treasury or the Executive made a firm commitment to the IMF to raise taxes. Mm-hmm. The only people who can raise taxes is Parliament. So if anyone in the Executive is giving a firm view to the Treasury, to the IMF or anybody else that we are going to raise taxes, they probably lied, because the Constitution does not allow the Executive. Mm-hmm. What happens is that they would make a proposal. Parliament, as the people's representatives, would then consider that, because according to the Constitution, the pass bearers, the people who bear our national pass, are Parliament. Mm-hmm. So if Parliament made that undertaking to IMF, I would understand it. If the Treasury made, they should have said that subject to the approval of Parliament. So that's the first. Secondly, it is also not true, according to the protocols, that the IMF can actually force us. What we do is we usually have a conversation with them. Now, if you need a facility, they could, which is this. Basically, they're not giving us a loan, they're giving us a precautionary facility, which is like an insurance policy, telling you, you may suffer a shock like Ethiopia did a couple of months back. You're not able to get sufficient foreign exchange, so we'll give you that cover, so that if you need it in foreign exchange, whether to pay your foreign loans or whether to use it to cushion the Kenya shilling, we would provide it for you. But in exchange for that, we need some security. Yeah. And I think that's what this is. So in the end, what I'd like us to know is that it's our responsibility. Yeah. Now, where Parliament comes in again is, I think right now, it's not even about IMF or anybody else. What happens right now is we have a budget which Parliament approved. There's an expectation of between 70 billion to 100 billion to fund that 3 trillion budget, which was to come from these fuel taxes. Parliament goes ahead and passes that budget with those numbers. What it means then is that the finance bill required for this adjustment to be made now. So that's where we are. And let's talk about Parliament. And Mbadi, you're no small fish in the National Assembly. You're minority leader, and you were in the House at the time that this was passed initially. And people, are asking, did Parliament not know at the very beginning that it would come to this? So why play savior in some way, while Kwame, has, pretty much put it, you're the ones to blame initially. Even if the Executive said we're going to do A, B, C, D, and E, the buck stopped with you to begin with.
First of all, I don't think it is correct to say that Parliament had the information about how government would raise. The revenue-raising measures of government comes a little later. You remember, expenditure estimates come 2 months before the end of the financial year. That is around April. Beginning of April. And so then the end of April, I mean. So we have May and June to look at the budget estimate. At that time, you really don't know the revenue-raising measures of government. What you deal with is the practicability of the estimates, expenditure estimates, which we passed before, I think, mid-June. The revenue-raising measures and tax measures were spelled out or read to Parliament much later, towards the end of June, because that is, we have an agreement with other East African states to do it at the same time. So you get to know the revenue-raising measures or the proposals much later. So I think what we need probably to talk about...
But eventually you do pass that budget. After it is read, you pass it.
I think maybe you didn't get me. We passed the budget before the revenue-raising measures were spelled out by government. So the people who actually had the full information about the revenue-raising measures to finance expenditure was the executive.
No, I'm speaking to Kwame's point that even now, this year, you saw the budget and you okayed it.
Maybe I'm not coming out clearly.
With huge spending costs.
Expenditure comes much earlier than the revenue-raising measures, or the revenue side of the budget comes much later. But you can say that the budget looked big, and so we should have stopped it. But looking at that budget, really again, you realize that there were no new expenditure items that would cause panic in the economy. So tying these two together, I think sometimes we miss the point. To me, it is very clear that we could still finance this budget without really necessarily going to rob the poor, as I put it. But if there is need to cut on the expenditure, some expenditure items, to reduce it by a further 70 billion or so, it is possible.
Saying that was the case, and you know that they have not been meeting their targets. Kerry has not been meeting the targets. So what else could Parliament have imagined would have raised that amount of money? You see,
we have talked about this before, and we continue to talk about it, that there are still tax reforms in this country that can realize additional revenue. It's only that I think Treasury is becoming a little bit lazy in terms of bringing or widening the tax base. And this is something that economists have talked about. We have spoken to it before. One would not have imagined that this tax that has not even been applied previously would be the only source of revenue to finance the additional expenditure of government. And by the way, what we are talking about is just this particular tax. This is the only tax measure that was supposed to bring about 70 billion. The rest were bringing like 1.5, 1.9 billion, really insignificant.
You think Treasury went for the lazy option?
They went for the lazy option, and I think we have told the Treasury before that they need to really seriously consider engaging on strategy, budgetary strategy in a more robust manner. I think the way that we have been going around the budgetary, the budgeting process in this country leaves a lot to be decided.
Kwame, are you persuaded by that defense of Parliament 1 and 2 when he's talking about, you could, as Steve Ogola says, you could innovate with the challenge of raising that amount of money? Were there really other options of wiggle room, or was it going to be punitive tax one way or another?
No, I think Honorable Mbadi should clarify his statement or tell us a different story, because two things. One, in 2016, when they deferred the raising of VAT on fuel, the end date was the 31st of August of this year. So whether or not the Cabinet Secretary had said that I'm raising extra measures, I'm raising extra money from 70 billion.
That was going to kick in.
That was going to kick in. So they cannot then claim that it was not stated to them, or at least, Honorable Mbadi, you could not claim that it was not stated to you that this would be coming. So that's the first. The second thing is the Treasury, from late last year and early this year, specifically started talking about austerity, which was a suggestion that, look, we needed for some reason to tighten measures, what economists call fiscal consolidation. We need to ensure we have sufficient revenues, but at the same time, discipline our spending. And I remember the Cabinet Secretary went and discussed that with Parliament. So obviously, when you were approving the budget in mid-June, I think it should have been clear in your minds that, okay, there are some new revenues that are coming nevertheless, but as you said yourself, it's 1.9, which is nothing. 70 billion is not little money. So my view should have been, okay, how are you going to treat this. So that's the reason that I think that responsibility, Parliament cannot duck it. But the other more pressing issue is that we can't do with this 70 billion, in my view, our view at the Institute of Economic Affairs. Why? Because we have spending that has already been locked in. And it wasn't locked in this year. It was locked in the previous years because of Parliament passing consistently big budgets with deficits of 400 billion in 1 year, 800 billion. So once you've done that, it doesn't matter what happens in the future. You already owe people some money and you're going to have to pay it. The only way it comes out is through taxes.
Well, I suppose, you know, political analysts have often opined that this is a problem when Parliament, you know, seems to operate at the behest of the executive. You know, a phone call, you're going to pass this one way or the other, and really does not play that checking role. We're going to be back very shortly with John Mbadi and, of course, Kwame Owino. And we're going to talk about what IMF, yeah, you know, it sounds like a big bag word for many people. It brings back almost eerie days of the Moi era, if you like. Is there reason to be concerned with the IMF? And does President Kenyatta have any options? Can he really save you and me from this punishing price at the pump? Stay with Monday Special.